Hi, welcome to Dr. Milton's Social Work Show. I'm Barbara Milton, uh, career social worker, and happy you joined us here on a Monday night. I want to talk to you about a very exciting thing that my wife and I are doing, and it's born out of the civil unrest that we're witnessing all right now, unfolding in real time around the senseless killing of black men in particular, but police brutality. And lots of people are still marching, peaceful protests all around the country. It is true that there had been uh, episodes of provocateurs and um, others who weren't principally involved in the protests, because these are constitutionally sanctioned, safe, peaceful protests by and large, in the midst of a pandemic, I would continue to remind everyone about. But people exercising their freedom to speak out against excessive use of force. Um, this campaign for reining in the excessive force and the eliminating the kinds of policies and practices of the state that uh, not only literally strangle the life out of black bodies, but also continue to oppress black people as we continue to learn about sort of the legacies of historical slavery, chattel slavery in America, the remnants of that still existing across all sectors. And we heard about it quite a lot as we looked at the health disparities around the COVID-19, as we looked at other institutions and other systems of oppression in our country. So that's a lot to take in. And I felt compelled to do some actions. So it started with going on a march on June 15th that middle school students organized in my hometown. It was quite moving. It was a number of young people called for our nation to elevate its understanding around the senseless killing of people and begging for some grievance around the areas of ending racism in this country and fostering more civility and discourse in our nation. Some of it was aimed at the current administration in Washington, which for some reason just continues to foment divisiveness, to continue to spew untruths about, basic things like why it's important to wear a mask during a pandemic, but also any and many other things. We just do not have a person in the White House who's capable of not aggrandizing himself and promoting himself, and he's in constant campaign mode, and so all too often he just speaks untruths. There are fact checkers that check him all the time, and I never witnessed anything like this in my life. But anyway, he continues to be opposed to eliminating the vestiges of chattel slavery in our country, and in fact, passing and supporting executive orders and a couple of the pieces of legislation. He hasn't gotten much passed because we have a divided Congress, but by executive order, he's done a lot of damage around race relations. So, anyway, sitting with all that, as a person who has mobility issues, who's continuing to struggle with health issues, like, what is the way that I could participate in this beautiful democracy of ours where I can exercise my rights? And my wife and I came up with this idea, call to action, to join in the Black Lives Matters protest in a way that kept us safe from coronavirus. And we came up with the idea of doing a caravan, like being in our cars, being safe, um, uh, carrying a very specific message through our vehicle. And we decided we would do this once a month on the third of the month, up to and including Election Day, because we wanted to link sort of the issues around racism with the issues around having elected officials in office under the guise of someone like Donald Trump and his Republican Party, where obviously black lives, poor lives, gay lives, minority lives, Asian lives, Native American lives, Latino lives. I mean, this, you could sort of lump it all together, but that this is a man that we need to get rid of, his ideology, which I call Trumpism. That's not original. Other people have said that. So we decided to join these two things. Black Lives Matter, Get Out the Vote Caravan. And we're doing it on the 3rd of the month, in July, August, September, October, and November. And of course, November 3rd is a very important date because it's Election Day. And we have the chance to put someone in office that better represents our issues and ideas and ideals. So we want to end racism and Trumpism, and what we suggest is that you recruit friends to join your own caravan, wherever you are, whatever city you're in. You are in your car. You could do it by yourself too. Just use your car. We suggest that you don't have a very large caravan that could impede traffic or make too much unpleasant noise, because we don't want to be disruptive or disrespectful to people in our community. So a small caravan or a caravan of one, just use your car to carry the message with your car. We ask you to make signs for your car so people can see it. They'll look up, they'll see you, you might honk your horn once or twice, and they'll see this message on your car: end racism, end Trumpism, get out to vote. And just to drive around your own community. 15 minutes, 30 minutes. We did it for 30 minutes the other day on the 3rd of July. So drive locally, drive in the daytime so people can see you. And, really important just to follow all the traffic rules and the noise rules and the noise laws for your particular community. And again, it's carrying the message. You're driving around and you're driving home a message to end racism and end Trumpism. Now, what does that mean? It's very easy to say end this and end that, but what does that mean you stand for? And there was a survey done with, I think, 30,000. There were 30,000 people that did it, black people who did a survey. It is the largest black census project that was done since in 155 years. It was done in 2018 by the organization, the Black Futures Lab. And from these surveys, it provided views and opinions about politics, society, and the opportunities and challenges that black folks are facing in our community and around our nation. And they created something called the Black Agenda 2020. Now, this document is comprehensive. Basically, what it does is it translates the black census results into policy platforms that educate elected officials, policymakers, legislators, and challenges them to take positions that are beneficial to the black community. Look, when we focus so much on the black community, just know when we focus on the least of these, everybody's lifted up. I remember Jesse Jackson saying that in 1980, 1983, it was like, and others have said it before, but all boats get lifted when we focus on the least of these, when we're saving the most vulnerable in our society. Everybody's life is elevated. So we're focusing on black lives right now. Of course, we're not anti-police. We are anti-police brutality. We are anti-oppression. And it really upsets me, actually, because there's an ad that Donald Trump is using right now that is so full of distorted lies. It's a telephone call where, defunding the police means that, if you're getting raped, you're not going to get a call from the cops. If you have a home evasion, you're not going to get calls from cops. What a flat out mistruth that is. This movement is calling for a reallocation, a divestment from the course that we're on right now, where there's this militarization of the police. Our police departments don't need to look like they're in Fallujah fighting the terrorists there. We need common sense policing. Yes, we need to meet violent criminals where violent criminals are at. I mean, none of us are advocating get rid of the police. We're not anti-police, right? If police are the apples on a tree, we're not. Yeah, there's some bad apples, but what we're talking about is the tree is rotten, and we got to get to the root causes of why there's systemic mistreatment of black bodies in the police, at the policing level, at the community level, all the way through our mass incarceration problem in this country. And then it crosses over into other systems, education, healthcare, right, in the economy, etc. That ad drives me bonkers, and it is not true. So much of what Donald Trump says is not true, and we really got to ask ourselves why that is. But at any rate, getting back to the Black Agenda 2020, this is what this movement stands for. It says we're going to focus on mitigating the impact of racism in every aspect of our lives. So what are the kinds of things, the core beliefs of this group? They're saying race matters. We must focus on the root causes of black inequality in order to disrupt the cycle. American law and policies built upon anti-black racism and white supremacy, the residual effects of which continue to derail black lives. Race-neutral policies will not resolve structural racism, but race-forward policies will. Another core belief is that government must be held accountable. The government and the people who operate it must be held accountable. And the third core belief is that the Black agenda is to be a progressive agenda. Fundamentally, they believe that progress for Black communities requires progressive thinking, old ideas, play it safe strategies. Incremental movement will not secure Black future. We need bold, innovative ideas that aggressively drive us forward. So, what are some of these policies? Well, there are policies in the area of the economy and standing up for um, policies and laws that will really take an honest look at the impact of slavery in the U.S. and develop a reparations agenda around that, raise job standards, make housing affordable, invest in K-12 education, make college affordable, make taxes fair and progressive, and invest in economic mobility. We also need to strengthen Black people's involvement in our democracy, by confronting those who conspire to steal our votes and building the democracy that was promised to us all by the founding fathers. Now, look, we see this happening all over in these primaries that have just taken place. We have to restore and strengthen voting rights, and we must fight voter suppression wherever it exists and by any means necessary. And we have to fix our broken immigration system. And we also need to look at the way we disenfranchise voters, like in the criminal justice system. I mean, if you did the crime and you paid your time, if you come back into society, why can't you vote? That's a fundamental right we have, is to exercise our freedom. And of course, there are people who do that, come out of jail and have certain rights restored to them. It doesn't happen with poor people. It doesn't happen with Black people. So we also have to make Black people powerful in our society by rejecting the toxic culture of white nationalism, by calling it out every opportunity and in front of every audience. And I'm going to say it. Donald Trump is a white nationalist. He believes in white supremacy. This is why he's having all these problems with these vestiges of the Civil War, these statues and things and flags that are rightly coming down. I mean, if you go to Germany, you don't see posters and statues to Adolf Hitler. It's absurd. It's absurd. So why do we tolerate that in America? It's absurd. Move on. The South lost. Racism needs to be buried in the dump heap of history where it belongs. We have to actively fight that. So we must combat white nationalist terrorism. Let's start by calling it that. We don't do that right now. Donald Trump's quick to call all kinds of other people terrorists, but not the Klan, not the Aryan militias, not the Posse Comitatus, not these interwoven white supremacists that are in our law enforcement, that are in our military, right? So we need to root that out. We must root that out. To call it what it is, it's domestic, white nationalist domestic terrorism. And then we have to enforce civil statutes consistently and comprehensively. We should have national laws around hate crimes. We should have national laws that prevent people from calling the police on a black person in a community because they hadn't seen them there before, right? Or in a college lounge because a white person feels like a black person isn't supposed to be there. We're seeing this all too often. I mean, they're calling it the Karens and the thises and the that's. But look, any space a black person occupies in the world, for some reason, is very threatening. But we're entitled to our space and our personhood. It's a fundamental right we have as human beings. The problem is too many whites don't believe we're human. They believe we're inferior. And I reject that, and I hope you reject that as a follower of my show. Yeah. We're all human. You close your eyes, we're all human. You take our blood, it's the same blood. You look at our DNA, 99.99% of us is the same. We're part of the human race. And for too long, this black self has been threatening. So we have to strengthen the legal system, ending the use of incarceration to solve the problems of migration, poverty, divestment, and returning millions of us back to our families and communities. We have to invest in community safety, prevention, justice rather than penal systems, hold police officers accountable for misconduct and the use of force, stop criminalizing poverty, decriminalize marijuana, forbid employers from asking job applicants to disclose their criminal records. Those are some of the common sense policies that we could put into place that could begin to dismantle systems of oppression. Not enough to just say end racism. How do you do it? Check out the blackfuturelabs.org and look at that Black Agenda 2020, and you are going to see some amazing things there. So I'm talking about this amazing experience that Kay and I are organizing, this action, this call to action. You know, you make signs, you'll fight for racial justice, end racism, register to vote, vote Trump out, right? And then you put this on your vehicle, just put it on your vehicle, right? So we use some ribbons, we decorate it, and we put it Black Lives Matter, end racism, and then we drove around our town for 30 minutes. And we had a neighbor join us. It was fantastic, and people were doing it in other states and other parts of the country, and fantastic, hallelujah, really getting people to call for action there. And then let me tell you what happened. I posted what we did on the Patch. That's an online newspaper with citizen reporters. So, I posted, the flyer, I put our signs, and then I had this reply from someone named Gibson, like, BLM is a racist, Marxist organization. I suggest you read their own words on their own website. It went on and on and on, this note from this person, Gibson. I mean, I don't know if its really name is Gibson, I don't know, but their leaders don't discount the use of violence. They want to tear down American culture and society. He just called me out my name, Barbara. I suggest you get an education. instead of being mindless social justice warrior for things you don't comprehend. Read Marx and Engels, and then he insults me with a remedial reading class, and then P.S. Don't even dream of calling me a racist. I don't buy that BS. I've done more for inner city kids than you ever will. You really think flapping your ignorant mouth is helping anyone? Oh, God bless him. It's just the kind of response I got. And I like to think of in response was like, may God soften your heart. I mean, I don't, I don't want to dignify it. I am sharing it with you here because I think it's important for you to know that this is the kind of example of the kind of hate and division and intolerance that is just so evident in our society right now. I'm exercising my right to protest, to grieve a wrong that I perceive as a wrong as a person living in black skin in this country. I also have the right to claim my space and to have my voice. And somehow that's threatening to people. It's just threatening. I don't get it. And it makes me sad that this person may even be exposing him or herself to inner city children with that kind of mindset and ideology. I mean, if you go to the Black Lives Matters website, which I have read and many times, and you go through it, toggle through the pages. Founded in 2013 as a response to the acquittal of George Zimmerman. We all remember that case. It was horrible. Uh, Black boy just going out for a stroll, Skittles and a drink, confronted by some paranoid, deluded person with a gun who felt like that black kid didn't belong in that neighborhood. And it was a riveting case in the news, and we followed the trial, and we saw this man be unpunished. And so anyway, this is the genesis of it. These are young people who have established the Black Lives Matter Global Network, and it is a call to action in response to state-sanctioned violence and anti-black racism. Their intention from the beginning is to connect black people from all over the world who shares a desire for justice to act together in their communities. The impetus for that commitment was and still is the rampant and deliberate violence inflicted on us by the state. So this is what they believe in. They believe in committing themselves to the healing of black people, healing of themselves, co-creating alongside comrades, allies, a family a culture where each person feels seen, heard, and supported. We acknowledge, respect, and celebrate differences in our community. We work vigorously for freedom and justice to black people, and by extension to all people. We practice empathy. We engage comrades with the intent to learn about and connect with their contexts. We make our spaces family friendly and enable parents and children to fully participate. We foster a queer affirming network. When we gather, we do so with the intention of freeing ourselves from the tight grip of heteronormative thinking, or the belief that all in the world is heterosexual. We cultivate intergenerational communal networks free from ageism. We're guided by the fact that all black lives matter, regardless of actual perceived sexual identity, gender expression, economic status, ability, disability, religious beliefs, disbeliefs, immigration status, location. We make space for transgendered brothers and sisters to feel, to participate, and to leave. We are unapologetically black in our positioning and affirming that black lives matter. We need not qualify our position. To love and desire freedom and justice for ourselves is the prerequisite for wanting the same for others. There's nothing on here about Marxism or tyranny or violence by the state. I mean, the founders are, academics, powerful speakers and leaders, Patrice Khan Cullors, Alicia Garza, who works with the Domestic Workers Alliance, and Opal Tometi, who is at the helm of the country's largest black organization for immigrant rights, the Black Alliance for Justice for Immigrants. And these are people who've been on the front lines working with people in the margins for a long time. And, putting black people first doesn't mean nobody else counts. It's okay to put black people first. For too long, we uh, haven't had that in this country. And to see this great awakening of non-black people understanding, because they saw George Floyd being killed. The life was squeezed out of him. He could not breathe, and so many can't breathe. So many can't jog. So many people can't walk a neighborhood. Some people can't go visit a friend in a community. Some people can't drive a Mercedes Benz. Some people can't go to a community swimming pool. Some people can't go shopping without being followed. Some black people are just a threat when they come into the space. Central Park, bird watching. You're not allowed to be there. You can't tell me to follow the rules. Right? This is what's happening in this country, and we need to stand up against it. We had some positive results also from our caravan. I don't want you to think it was all negative, because lots of people were supporting us, and it's fantastic. So the 3rd of every month, July, August, September, October, you too can be on the caravan. Do it in your own community. Do it where you live. Get the message out. Get the word out. It is a call to action to drive this message home that Black lives matter, and getting out the vote matters, and that we stand for freedom, justice, equality that are enshrined in this Constitution of this great country that black folks have never had before. Taking stabs at it, we haven't achieved it. We must dismantle systemic racism. It's not an academic exercise, it's an exercise for humanity. It's about actions. Loving kindness toward one another, respect and tolerance and compassion for one another, enfranchisement enshrined in our policies and in our laws. We do not have that right now. And not just piecemeal, this city, that place, this place. This be a federal response to eliminate systemic racism in this country. Black lives do matter. We're all part of the human race. Because I believe in black lives, it does not mean I do not believe in your life. We are all entitled to dignity and respect. And take a ride. Join us on this wonderful caravan, the 3rd of the month. The next one will be on August the 3rd. Send us pictures. Post us information. You can get my email here. Post us information about your ride in your neighborhood. Spread the word that we can end racism, and we can elect people into office who better represent the kinds of ideas that we all stand for, that better represent the justice and equality we want in this country. All right, so I think that's where I'm going to end right now. Dr. King said the arc of the moral universe is long and it bends toward justice. I do believe that, and history will confirm that. We have a constitution that can help make that possible, right? But it doesn't bend by itself. We must bend that arc and bend it toward progress, bend it toward the kind of country that we want us to be. Your vote matters, your actions matter, your thinking matters. I pray that we all treat each other with loving kindness, the dignity we're all so entitled to. And I pray we do that today. What are you going to do? Thanks for watching. Peace.